Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Joe Widmer. This is Channel 7 Club Curling. We're on episode 4. Today's episode brings us out to the Capital Curling Club in Bismarck, North Dakota. We have a classic tale of blue versus yellow. This is a very special episode. We are going to talk to a very talented curling instructor. He's going to give us all the tips that we need to become better curlers. We're also going to watch a club game in the meantime. So, in a moment, we'll get you caught up, but we've got Yellowhammer down 2 in the fourth end. Let's do a quick recap, though. Yellow hangs on for 2. Blue at the plenty of yellow to go around, but they hang on for the deuce there. And then a little tight. Yellow goes deep. Blue steals 2 more.
That was sweet.
Okay. My guest this week is Jason Perreira. Jason, I know you from the TCCA, where you are. I'm going to let you introduce because I'm going to screw up your title. But why don't you tell everybody your bona fides and what you're doing at TCCA and what we might be talking about here?
Yeah, so Jason Perreira, I am the Skills Development Coordinator for the Twin Cities Curling Association. New role, just took it on back in November. Part of the TCCA's mission is to grow the sport in the Twin Cities through member clubs. One of the big things that was identified as a need was additional training and resources for curlers who are beyond new, but may not have all the opportunities. So it's beyond, my focus is going beyond learn to curls into developing skills, delivery, sweeping, those types of things. So facilitating a lot of clinics and organizing different training pieces. That's my role with TCCA.
Very cool. I put together like kind of a rough outline of topics I want to talk about. You were up at the Bonspiel, which we'll talk about, so I didn't get a chance to really get your feedback for what you think these maybe 4 topics should be. But let me know if you think this is maybe a good. First of all, you got Jason Perreira. Let's get you sorted out. Let's get you sorted out here. You're not throwing the best you want. You need to talk to the doctor. You're going to talk to Jason Perreira. So I'm thinking we've got an abbreviated topic. We'll talk about sweeping and also line call. We'll go into delivery, which I think could be a whole episode. Hitting, I think a lot of people at our level wish they could hit better. And my favorite topic, the one that I just completely feel like nobody is paying enough attention to, is how to miss right and how to talk about how to miss with your team. And so we'll get in all that. But maybe we could just jump right in. And with this short end that we're watching here, maybe we'll just go down to sweeping and line call. And I should say to the people of Bismarck that are being featured right now, this game is not selected because of you guys are doing anything wrong or doing anything great. We promise we will not single you out if we see something that you missed, but we will celebrate it when we see something great. So Jason, what do you let's just jump up to like 5-year curlers and up. Sweeping line call, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong?
I think a lot of people are highly focused on sweeping for curl versus sweeping to keep a rock straight. When I think a lot of 5-year curlers really need to focus on the technique of applying pressure down on the ice. Where are they sweeping in relation to where the rock's traveling? The holding line versus sweeping for curl will come, but the fundamentals with the technique are pretty important. So getting all of your weight, or at least as much of your weight as possible, over the broom head, being on your toes instead of being on your heels when you're sweeping. Those are some of the important things that I think that's kind of missing. And in all honesty, we don't do a lot of training around sweeping technique. We just see things like on the Briar, which is happening this week. This is the first weekend in the Briar. We see sweeping for curl or sweeping to hold the rock, but we don't really focus on what does that individual look like when they're actually applying pressure down on the broom.
Yeah, you're right. So for the most part, would you say we should be at least, let's say our viewers are aware of sweeping for line, sweeping for curl. Is there any benefit to, even if you have poor technique, to switching sides of the stone and be sweeping in the correct direction for curl and straight? Or is it just our technique is so lackluster that we should just be hoping to get whatever side we're strongest on?
I think that it kind of varies. It kind of depends. I've seen some fantastic curlers who apply a lot of pressure. They're super enthusiastic. So they apply a lot of pressure. The broom head's moving really fast, but they may not be in front of the stone. So getting them more in front of the stone itself, in front of the running band, will
Yeah.
be super helpful, regardless of if you're sweeping for curl or sweeping to keep it straight. I think most newer curlers, the 2 to 5 year, 2 to 7 year in that range, really need to focus on which side are they more comfortable on, and specifically if they are able to sweep in a closed position, that's going to be more effective than open.
Yeah.
So the guy that's coming down right now is delivering the stone. The
It looks
gentleman in
open to
black,
me.
he
That's an
is open. Yes.
yeah. Okay, and you generally ascribe to, we hear that the second sweeper's relevance is probably even less so with club curlers. Do you like that person really just being a relay between the skip and the person in the close or the open, or I'm sorry, the closed position sweeping the stone?
I think it kind of depends. If you're sweeping for distance, no, help out.
Help out. Yeah.
Help out, absolutely. If you're sweeping for line or you're sweeping a hit, the other person should be relaying information more than sweeping. It kind of varies. But I would say that I think that studies have shown the closer sweeper is a 70+% effective.
Yeah.
So the other person is helping, especially on a draw. But on a hit, the rock's traveling a little quicker. Personal preference. I
Okay.
wouldn't say that either one works better.
Okay. And then line call, I think everyone needs time either as a skip or as a vice to be down there and see it. But anything jump out at you in terms of what's something we can be doing to be calling line better?
Anticipate the break point.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of teams, the skip will recognize their shooter's tendencies. Um, Flipping out the stone a little bit, being a little wide, whatever it might be. But the stone will generally travel fairly straight until a certain point when it starts to break. Anticipate
Hmm.
that break, anticipate that line call. Sweepers need to do the same thing. They need to understand as soon as it's released, looking at the rock. A lot of people like to look at their stopwatch. Well, the stopwatch is a tool.
Yeah.
It's not the end all be all. It's not an absolute. So identifying what did that release look like? Did they move it out a little bit? Did they cross their body and dump it in? Those types of things will influence the line and when that rock starts to break. So you anticipate the line moving or the rock moving when it hits the break point.
And last thing on this topic, can you speak to what killing a stone is? Basically, hitting it too hard, too early. How much curl can you take out of a stone by just hammering it right out of their hand?
Um, it depends again on the effectiveness of the sweeper, but I would say that if a stone is released, let's say it's a counterclockwise turn, so it's an out turn. If it's released on the broom as a draw, and
Hmm.
again that break point happens 3/4, 4/5 of the way down the sheet before it starts to turn.
Sure.
If you hammer it right away, if you start sweeping it right away, it keeps it straighter for longer and it can take the breakpoint out or delay that breakpoint till later.
Okay.
So it can change the skip's expectations of when that stone should curl by sweeping it too hard too soon. But at the same time, if that same outturn is a little tight to the broom, sweeping it could help keep it straighter so that it again prolongs that break and it comes
Yeah.
around whatever guard that you want to get around.
So to a
So
skip that's looking at a stone that just came out of hand, and they hit the broom, but all indications that's going to come up a little light. And since your sweepers are only effective for a finite number of seconds, there's some value if you like the broom, you like the way the shot's looking, you just expect it to be light. Is there something to be said about really pushing hard to extend the distance of the stone, like more towards the middle of the shot, or definitely at the end and let it finish? Or
Well, what I what I tell a lot of people is that if you sweep hard hog to hog, it's generally 13 to 15 seconds, depending on how fast the ice is. To go 100% for that period of time, 13 to 15 seconds, to sweep hard at 100% effectiveness is difficult.
yeah, shot after
Most
shot after shot
shot
after
after shot,
shot.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So most people, their effectiveness goes down the further you go. Well, that's when you really need harder sweeping. So what I usually recommend is don't go 100% right away.
yeah.
Go 70,
Okay.
80%, and then you still have something in the tank when you get near the hog line and you can drag that stone a little further. But yeah, I would say hit it
That's a
fast, hit
good
it
idea.
early.
That's a good idea that I've never heard anyone articulate before. That, yeah, it's light, hit it, get on it early, but
Don't kill yourself.
just know that you're gonna have to maintain something and leave a little something for
Yep.
later. That's awesome. I'm so glad I
Yep.
brought that up. Okay. I'm trying to keep these sort of orderly here. Let's go on to my next topic, delivery. Like I said, this could probably be a whole episode. I think a lot of people, this is everything, right? I mean, for making shots, this is your delivery. So, what do you've helped me out with my shot, and we'll get into hitting. In a 30-second talk with you, you had diagnosed something I was doing. But what should we know about our delivery? And just like I said, it's 5-year curlers and up. Everybody's got a delivery that they're sort of into. But what are some tips?
Yeah, a lot of there is no perfect delivery. Let's start out with that. There are really pretty deliveries, and I can, easily call out a few folks, competitive curlers that have really well designed deliveries.
Yeah,
But I think that everyone's body type is different. So your delivery is going to vary from mine because of how your hips are, how your knees are, your flexibility, your mobility, all of those things. And I think that a lot of people will look for or try to get to the perfect delivery when there isn't one. So it comes down to how do you make the shot?
yeah.
What about your delivery will help you make the shot? And there's some fundamentals that will. Line of delivery, going down that straight line, getting that rock going down the line of delivery to the broom is huge. Being
Everything. Yeah.
balanced, not putting weight on the stone, but putting weight on your support foot. Um, Using whether you use a stabilizer or use your broom, taking weight off of that. And again, 70, 80, 90% of your weight on your slide foot is where you need to be because that keeps you more stable on that line of delivery.
Where would
And
you
then the
like to see a
release.
slide foot in regards to let's say a person's at roughly 45 degrees? I think I heard sternum or below sternum. Is that the rule of thumb?
It's, yeah, generally below your sternum or your center of mass. So
Center
that
mass.
will
Okay.
vary based on your body type and where you carry your weight. But generally near your sternum to your belly button, right around in that area. That's where your support foot should be.
Hmm. Um, can you talk about drive and how I think a lot of times people start pushing and pulling back if they don't feel like they have a consistent drive? How do people develop enough kick so that they can leave their arm and the push out of it? This is actually where
That's,
you helped me out a lot. You saw that I was low in the hack, and by
yeah.
getting up to 90 degrees, I was able to generate more drive, and I didn't have to push
Yep.
so much.
So I've had the luck of getting training from different folks. John Benton, fantastic trainer, can diagnose things just super quickly and tell you what you're doing wrong. I've taken some of
Shout
the
out to
Kevin
John
Martin.
because we exploit curling stadium software all the time to stream it.
Yeah,
So shout out to him.
fantastic deal for John, Jerry
Great job
Gertz,
at the
all of those
U.S.
folks.
mixed nationals that we just watched too.
Yeah, definitely. But John's fantastic at diagnosing and helping me when early on when I first started curling. I also took some of the Kevin Martin training,
Hmm.
uh, but it comes down to when you're talking about the kick and
That's my little
getting
Kevin Martin sticker.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's Kevin. Um, Comes down to
he's
the
a
kick. It's
he's a favorite.
yes, definitely. He's a good guy. Really has some great stories. And if anybody ever has an opportunity to take any of his classes, his training, I highly recommend them. Um,
where did you find his training? I know he comes to the Twin Cities a lot, but for people that are maybe watching us outside of Minnesota and Wisconsin and the
yeah,
Dakotas, does he get down to like the Charlottes and stuff like that? And
I think he has. I've taken it through the Lupus Research Foundation. So Regan Burr's Lupus Research Foundation, Regan and Todd. Um, when they do the lupus spiel in the Twin Cities, Kevin usually comes and does a clinic or two. I think he's in Brainerd in a couple of weeks. They're doing a separate one there.
definitely is, yeah.
I've been to one in Seattle with him,
Okay.
and I think that he was in the Carolinas. I forget which club within the past year or so.
Okay,
So
so he
take
gets
advantage of
around.
those
People
opportunities.
people
Yeah,
just need to find. He's really active on Facebook and stuff. So people that
yeah,
want to, I'm probably like, I don't know. There's probably 7 people that have said what you're saying right now. That was a good 2 days,
yeah.
well spent working with him.
It is. But the one thing that I caution when people start taking lessons or start looking at changing their delivery, things don't go well at first. It
Okay.
takes
Yeah.
takes some time
Yeah.
before the changes actually make a difference.
So maybe
But
find
getting
some practice ice and really just try to
oh,
get
definitely.
get 30 reps in before you try to bring it into league or something.
It's well, set realistic expectations. It's even if you do that, it's still going to take you, 2, 3, 4 weeks before things become feels more comfortable.
Hmm.
You're going to fight it because a lot of us have ingrained habits, and to change those habits is difficult.
Yeah.
But getting back to what your question was, is how to change that kick and how to get a more stable or faster or better slide. John teaches where you position the rock is, under your center of mass. Kevin teaches move it out a little bit under
Hmm.
your armpit.
Okay.
But either way, wherever you position that rock, it comes down to being in a ready position in the hack, having your hips higher up, not super high, not standing, I mean, but keeping your hips at an angle and at a height where you can easily and quickly push down and push out of the hack. So one of the things that we look at is that left leg. If you're right-handed curler, your left leg, your left thigh should be about parallel with the ice. That's in
Okay.
an athletic ready position. So as you slide back, you keep that left thigh parallel to the ice. It comes back, it goes forward. Um, it allows you to have a little bit more leg drive. If your hips are too low, then you kind of have to go over a hump in order to go. If your hips are
Sure.
too high, then you're crashing down into the ice. So how do you get your energy transferred forward and back as straight as possible?
Yeah.
That's how you can improve your kick, your delivery.
How important is the shooting elbow? I
Oof.
There's a Canadian class online that I watched that, really wants it pointing down, and I don't think they mean like literally down, but any sort of effort, anything to get this chicken wing
Yeah.
controlled and almost touching your body. Would you say that? Like almost touching the side of
Yeah.
your stomach?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people, if they don't get the rocket directly in front of them, it's off to the side a little bit.
Yeah,
And even if you follow the Kevin Martin, keep it under your armpit, you still want that elbow tucked in straighter, under a little bit as opposed to out. The further out it gets, the easier it is to flip the stone or to move it this direction. So keeping that your forearm about parallel to the ice or as close as possible as parallel to the ice also
sure.
helps because that helps with your extension. It's a straightening of the elbow. It's not a flip of the wrist.
What makes a good extension? Because I think when people overextend, not only does their line of delivery get screwed up, but it's harder to, we all know that like a little bit too much extension, it almost seems like you've gone from draw weight to like hack weight. It's really crazy how just exponentially that grows. What push? Are you just looking for kind of finishing your shot, or do you, when you're sliding out, do you feel yourself get just below where you want to be, and then you add a little bit to it to kind of
Yeah,
manage it?
that's a really good description. If you think about it, when you kick out of the hack, you reach a peak momentum and then you start slowing down. So the extension should come just as you're starting to slow down.
Okay.
So your momentum goes up and it goes down, it starts to come down, and as it comes down, you extend to extend that momentum to
Okay.
keep it going. A lot of it comes down to feel, but yeah, generally it's as you're just starting to slow down, you just give it a little bit more to get it to the point where you want it to be. I think
Oh,
it's a
that's
really
very
good
cool.
way of explaining it.
And then obviously, how much feedback should the thrower be giving to their sweepers? A one word sort of yes or no. I pushed it. I added. But just give them
You know,
something.
communication is critical. Thrower to the sweeper, sweepers to the line caller. Um, the thrower should be letting the sweepers know I'm on the broom. Line's good. Or,
That's
ooh, I
good.
flipped it out a little bit. Or I'm tight and inside. Or even it feels light. There should be something coming out of the speaker's mouth upon release. So that'll help the sweepers understand, well, what do we need to do? How do we need to manage this? What information do we need to relay to the skip?
Yeah. I mean, so with delivery, are you if you're over it and you think you need to blow it up, what do you do? I mean, is it as simple as somebody who maybe needs a stabilizer just bucking it up and doing it, or is it more reps at open ice? What if somebody just they've got problems, but they don't have a Jason Perreira at their club ready to do this? What's how do you reinvent your delivery?
That's a hard question to answer, Joe.
Sorry,
That's,
sorry.
a lot of it comes down to repetition and um, watching others that are at a level that you want to be at and emulating some of the things that they do.
Okay.
So I would say, YouTube is fantastic. Curly Stadium's fantastic. TSN, shout out, broadcasting the Scotties and the Briars to allow us to watch the Canadian National Championships. Fantastic.
Yeah, but aren't you
Um,
worried that club curlers are going to be like, "Oh, I like that BJ Newfield. I'm gonna deliver like him."
you
Jungle
know,
cat on the prowl. Yeah.
BJ has a very individual delivery, but that's again goes back to depending on your body type, depending on what's comfortable. Are you a tuck slider? It's up to you. It's however you make the
It's
shot.
he's a really lanky dude, and so he can get down there. But it's big guys like myself, like Matt Dunstone, gets super low, and
He does.
he's not he's not like skinny. He's shout out to Matt Dunstone because this is his year. I'm calling it. I was right on my Scotties prediction. I
Nice.
was watching Dunstone earlier, and he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's going to do something big this year.
He's about due. I
He
mean,
is due.
he's got a good team around him. He's about due.
Yeah,
Uh,
you wanna throw out a Briar prediction while we're talking about it?
that's tough. I mean, the field is stacked. You've got 5, 6, 7 teams. It could go either way. I have always been a big fan of Brad Gushew's curling, so I think he's got a great opportunity.
I'm sure by the
Botcher's
time
team is
people are
hard.
watching, I'm sure by the time people are watching this, Gushu will have corrected everything. But he threw like 60% last night, and it was
It's
looking rough.
early.
Yeah, I
It's
know it is early,
early.
but he was making some mental mistakes too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I think,
uh,
Kevin Cooey's been having some struggles early on too.
yeah,
I really like Botcher. Botcher's team.
yeah.
He's got some all-stars around him, so the great opportunity. But again, field stack. There's a lot of them that could. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
This is a great shot.
you got to throw out one prediction before we move on from the Briar. If you had to put
Uh,
money on,
I'm not really a betting man, but that was a great shot. That was a fantastic draw around that guard.
here, I got
Um,
technology here. While you're spitting out an answer, I'll back us up here.
I'm gonna go with Botcher. I'm gonna go with Botcher. I think Botcher's gonna have it. The quality of um, the quality of the players on his team is just amazing. They're starting to gel, so I think it's their year. Look at this thing just dive under this guard and get to shot.
Yeah,
This is crazy.
parked
That's
it.
fantastic.
I love it. Yeah, look how buried that. It's over buried,
Yeah.
frozen,
Is
and
that hammer or do we got another one?
yeah, that is hammer. That was
Oh,
and he was looking at a sea of yellow.
yeah.
Yeah, Good catch.
That was awesome.
There's we're gonna move on to. Oh wait, we gotta pay some bills. This is very important, Jason. I know as a fan, we have a sponsor. It's not Summit.
Is this a legit sponsor? You got Labatt's?
Yeah, dude.
That's awesome.
No, they're not
That's
a real
fantastic.
sponsor.
That's fantastic. No, come on. Keep the myth going.
Yeah. Oh, I see. You set me up, and I screwed that up. Yeah. No. Yeah. Labatt's. Well, I'm seen drinking a Summit Extra Pale Ale every time I have one of these episodes, so it's the illusion is gone already.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
So I've got hitting up for our next one. Man, teams can either hit or they can't, and when you're a team that can hit, you don't got a chance, bro. You don't have it. If you play if two draw teams play each other, fun game to watch, something's going to happen. But when there's a mismatch here, you got to be able to hit, and not necessarily peel, but you got to be able to hit that hack weight stuff. Control would be nice. How do teams start to hit better and more predictably? What can people do to make their hitting stronger?
Practice. Practicing
Okay,
outside
what
of
are we
the
going to talk
facility.
about for the next 7 minutes? You can't just say that.
Well, there's more to it than that, but
Okay.
I think a lot of curlers just play league and they play once, maybe twice a night or twice a week, and then
Sure.
that's about it. But they need to find some practice ice and go out and throw it as a team in a non-critical situation and give feedback. So when I talk about practice, it's actually making useful practice, not just going throwing stones all over the place, but it's, well, this went well, this is how it felt, etc. But hitting really, again, a lot of newer curlers, 5-year curlers, it comes down to getting the rock in front of your body. So this young lady's throwing a hit. She got the
Yep.
rock in front of her body. It was all along the same line. It wasn't underneath her. And I see that looks like she's gonna maybe flash, maybe catch a piece of it. Just got a piece of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of room for that hit, but regardless, she got the rock out in front of her as opposed to underneath. And I think that a big miss that I see with newer curlers, 3, 4, 5-year curlers, is that they get the rock underneath them too much. So they're sliding out, and the rock isn't in front of them. The rock isn't the first thing that got moving as they're coming out of the hack, but it's just trailing along with them. And so then they are bowling. Basically, they're just shoving it. They're flipping it. They're doing whatever. So again, it gets down to practice getting the rock moving in front of your body and extending. Extend that elbow.
Does somebody coming out of the hack throwing a draw versus let's just say let's go all the way to the other extreme and something peel? How much difference is there in terms of how far out that stone is, or is it should be out there already anyway, no matter what shot you're throwing?
It should be out in front of your body no matter what.
Okay.
So regardless of if it's a draw, unless you're, picking up the stone, you got a big backswing, like in the olden days, the rock should be visible in front of you when you look down, and maybe through your peripheral vision, in front of you as opposed to underneath you.
Okay.
Um,
This this lady sweeping right now, we're gonna
mhm.
call her out. Shout out to this lady. Um, she's a good hitter, and I put these in order. She's gonna have some shots coming up, and I think it's safe to assume that we can talk about her approach. I don't know about the other team, so they're just gonna get unfairly overanalyzed here. But so I don't want to get too much in strategy because that's all of YouTube, right? You like that's all anyone wants to talk about, and there's not enough technique stuff. So I don't want to necessarily call out when to hit and when not. But how unrealistic is it for teams that or how often should they be prioritizing hitting that they're not doing right now? Like splitting the house is one thing, but like that's kind of an example of somebody getting a beneficial outcome of on a hit. So that's kind of a
Yeah.
segue into what I'm talking about. Like, was that worth it as opposed to drawing around saying that that's quarter buried or three-quarter buried? We can't really, we can either run back, but I don't trust you to hit. So I'm going to have you draw. They can do
Yeah.
stuff with that stone right now, right? I mean, that's a beneficial outcome.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to, like you said, the strategy. What do you want to do? What's your team capable of? Um, when I first started curling way back in the day, not that long ago, actually, um, Fourth Seasons Curling Club put on a members clinic. And one of the things that I remember distinctly from that members clinic was an acronym, SHEET. SHEET. So when you're thinking about your strategy, what's the score? Who has
Mm,
hammer? What end are you in? What's the environment like, or how much is the ice curling? And what's your team capable of?
yeah.
So when you ask about, well, should you hit, should you not, what strategy, etc. Again, what's your team capable of will help dictate the strategy of should you try to split something to move the rocks around, how much should you move the rocks around, how consistent are they at hitting? All of those things need to be considered. Like this one is trying to hit it a little on the high side and move it over. Nosed it, got rid of the back one, which is fine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So here comes the lady I was talking about. And I don't you know, take crazy notes actually she's going to draw, of course. So
mm,
it's, or she's got great form. And she does have some good hits in this game. Maybe they come in the next end. Um, but in terms of like risk reward with a hit, let's say you're skipping and you've got a player that you're only calling it 25% that they're going to actually make this hit, but the reward it pays off. I mean, I guess what I'm asking for you is invitation to teams that don't hit well to still try them. A, because it's going to go back into that's practice, and also the risk reward is it's it's there for teams that can hit. Not
yeah,
only that, the other team probably put something there because they think you're not going to hit.
yeah.
I'm kind of answering my own question there, but you don't want to become so one dimensional that they exploit it.
You can't become one-dimensional. I mean, you have to have all the tricks in the bag to be able to do all of the things at some level. So you may not be able to throw a 7-second hit, but can you throw a 10-second hit, and will it move things around enough? And can you do it accurately? Sometimes that's okay.
Yeah.
But to your point, risk versus reward, how are you setting up the end in order to make the shots that are important? How are you keeping things clear for your skip to be able to either draw in to score your multiple points or to hit something and stick around to score your points?
Okay, so what else are we missing about hits? What when you're lining up to do something control, and let's kind of keep it at control and down from there. What are you thinking about in the hack? How does your drive change? How does what's different for you on a hit?
Uh, Hitting the broom. I mean, the line is set up for you for that specific weight.
Hmm.
So if you are out a little bit or inside a little bit, the sweepers at control weight, a 10, 10 and a half, 11-second hit, the sweepers can control that a little bit. They can hold it a little bit straighter or make it curl a little bit more generally. So hitting the broom, but within tolerance, an inch or two outside isn't the end of the world, but extension and rotation, because I think that sometimes what we see is that I'm trying to throw a hit, I'll hit the broom, but I'll forget to turn the handle.
Yikes! Yeah,
So depending on the weight of the hit, it's either going to grab and go or it's never going to curl.
right. Yeah, actually, let's talk about rotation. What is it? 3 to 5 is what we're told. But I've started to play against people that are playing around with it a little bit more. Is it just generally a rule? The more rotation, the straighter it is. Do you want to see more rotation? Not so much in terms of how many times it goes around because it's flying a lot faster. But are you upping your rotation on something you want to be relatively straight like a hit?
Yeah, generally you can, but you also think about when it hits, where do you want that rock to go? Do you want to nose it? Do you want your shooter to roll in a certain direction? The more rotation that it has when it hits, the more it's going to roll into a certain direction. But for a draw, again, depending on the ice conditions, somewhere between 3 to 5 rotations is fantastic. Curling at Frogtown recently, the ice has been really super swingy. It's been great. I try to throw a consistent 4.5 rotations.
Okay.
That gets me in Frogtown 3.5, 4 feet of curl, which is great recently. If I throw anything less than that, I might get 4.5 feet of curl. It might be the difference of getting around a guard.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, is this guy going to make the shot through the port here? Is he going to get the double, or is he only going to get the single?
That's a great shot either way. Nice.
Oh, very nice. Good hit.
Good hit. Oh, she loves it.
Yes, she does.
Wait, we got to give him a Kevin Martin here since we
Nice
shouted him
shot.
out. Yeah.
But one of the things that I recommend is playing around in practice with the number of rotations that you deliver the stone with. So start the stone at 3 o'clock and release at 12. Start it at 2:30 and release at 12. Start it at 1 o'clock, release at 12. Start at 12 and release at 11. Change the number of rotations and you'll see the difference in your delivery. Do that in practice. Don't do it in the game.
You reminded me of something I wanted to ask about because I've seen this. I know I've done this, and I've also seen it as a skip looking down. My thrower's looking right at me, and I notice at the point of release, I've seen it both ways where it immediately jumps off the line of delivery outside, and I've also seen it where they tweak it and now it's suddenly inside on the like everything
Mhm.
looked great coming out, but all of a sudden now it's got um how should we be releasing stones to make sure that we're adding rotation but we're not changing the line of delivery?
Yeah, I think we were originally taught to start the rock out or 10 or 2.
Sure.
Either 2 o'clock for an out turn or a counterclockwise turn, 10 o'clock for an
Hmm.
in turn, or a clockwise turn. I think it's key, critical, important. If that's what you were taught and if that's what you're doing, to hold it at that point until release, and then at release be intentional. What I
Hmm.
see a lot is I'm going to turn the rock and then I'm just going to lift my hand up. So it's going to feel
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So but also with the wrist break, it can be I'm going to push it off and then I'm going to let go and my hand's going to go up or my hand's going to go across my body or anything like that. A lot of the training that you can take will really demonstrate that you need to be intentional with where you set that rock. So if you're going to start it out at 2 o'clock, set it to 12 and let it go. If you're going to release it or hold it at 10 o'clock, set it to 12 and let it go. That will help with the consistency in hitting that line of delivery as opposed to I'm going to hold it wherever, or I'm going to hold it at 3 o'clock, and then I'm going to crank it and break my wrist in a certain direction. That'll get the rock curling right away. So
I
it really
think
comes down
why
to setting it.
I think why I stumbled on to that thing that you said before where your momentum is peaked, you're down, and now your extension is sort of maintaining that. I think the reason that occurred to me is because I was noticing um, that without an extension, my wrist was dictating too much of that, and it was that
Sure.
could be the thing. And so I wasn't extending at all, and then my wrist had 100% of the say,
Yep.
and so I almost feel like I need an extension to counteract any of that lateral movement with my wrist and kind of fight it off. Are those two things related?
I think they are, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to confuse anyone with saying that you have to extend, you have to shove it, you have to push it, because then again, that introduces a whole nother dynamic. But being intentional.
Intentional.
So holding it at whatever degree that it feels comfortable. So let's say it's a 2 o'clock. Holding it until release is important. And then at release at 12 o'clock. We'll also see sometimes is that people get a little lazy. So the rock starts turning before they're ready to release it. And then all of a sudden their wrist breaks and they're doing one of these things where the wrist is leading the hand.
Yeah.
So really being intentional about holding it until release and then releasing it at 12 o'clock. I think about looking down at your thumb, and you seeing the back of your thumb upon release, regardless if you're throwing an in turn or out turn. If you look down and you see your palm, you've over rotated. You're going to flip it out. If you look down and see the back of your hand, you've over rotated it and you're going to dump it in. So look down and look at for the back of your thumb.
Interesting. See, this is. I mean, I've watched 50 million hours of YouTube stuff, and you're talking about stuff that you've got great tips. Okay, let's see.
You know what? I'm just to be clear, I am taking years of observation, experience, teaching and training, and things that I've seen. I'm not inventing anything new.
No, that's what the sport is. The sport is built on that sort of community. So for sure. What do we got here? We got he could be sitting. Yellow could be sitting 3. This could be a
Whoa,
big end here.
that took a heck of a turn there. You're getting really a lot of swing on this ice.
Yeah, shout out to Bismarck Ice Makers. Another club we got to get to someday. You've probably been there.
I have not been there. I haven't been to Bismarck yet.
Oh, I got to get you out of the way. Okay, so let's see. Again, my favorite topic, I think, as a modest curler, any success that I have is because I go to the school of Russ Howard, and his book, Learning or Curling to Win, was like something I read as like a first year curler, and he taught me 2 things that are a little controversial. One is that put stopwatches away until you know how to curl. Put stopwatches away. I tell everybody that. He said he took, he went to the Olympics with, and everybody, Gushu and everybody put their stopwatches away, and that was really controversial. The other thing that he talks about a lot, and anybody who's not watching, the Briars or the Scotty, they should. He's always talking about the pro miss. There's always, if you're drawing button, it's always better to know if you should leave it high and be top button or low and back button. So
okay, hold on real quick. You've got the lady on the right was just skipping, going back to the hack. That's hilarious. That's awesome. So shout out to her.
We're gonna shout her out again. The young people back far enough. Oh,
yeah, there you go. That's fantastic. Sorry, putting away stopwatches. Yes.
Putting away stopwatches. Yeah, like I mean, I know everyone's gonna have their thing, but you've mentioned it already. There's a moment after the release where they could have got some big information, but they were staring at their stopwatch. I mean, what do you tell new curlers or ready to advance curlers?
Stopwatch is a tool, and it's great for that individual that you're timing, because it can give them feedback on how they're doing and what their kick felt like. But curling is very much a feel sport, so some of those times aren't necessarily going to apply to the next person or to the other team. So when you're timing, back line to hog, and you're looking for a certain split, that's pretty individualized. The 4 people on your team, it's very rare that they throw exactly the same way. They have exactly a similar kick and a release and extension. So I curl with a team that our lead has, for a draw of the button, he may throw 3.6 seconds. But when I throw to the button in the same path, it might be 4 flat, 405 in that range. But that's individual to me versus individual to him. So if you're using the stopwatch as a tool for that person, okay, but trust your eyes. Trust your eyes. Trust how fast you're walking or sliding with the thrower, because that's going to tell you a little bit more information than just staring down at a number and trying to make sure that you click it and then put the stopwatch away so you can get ready to sweep. A lot of teams will only have one person time. So one person does the timing, the other person watches the rock, and then they're both able to come to an agreement.
Yeah, there's a meeting of minds. Yeah. Let's try a little experiment here. Speaking of pro misses and tolerance, let's pretend that we know exactly what we can glean what he's saying. I think he's saying throw hack to remove that yellow, or that blue. So let's talk about the pro miss on this. Obviously, hit and stick is the make, but what's the pro miss?
Pro miss on this one would be to just hit it fat or hit it thick. So instead of, he's probably
she
looking
went.
for about half. Oh,
Oh, okay. I think what I confused him with was let's hit this out, and if you redirect it this way, you might get that one
oh,
too. So
I
um,
got you.
that was a great shot.
That works out really
The
well.
the pro miss, if there's an opportunity there for that to jam on her yellow, the pro miss is to miss it on the
To let
low
it over
side.
curl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let it over curl, right?
Yep. Let it over curl. So that looks like he got them off of that sweep pretty quickly because it
Yeah, yeah.
looked like it was going to jam. So get off of it, let it over curl, and then it crosses the face.
Okay, so potential double here.
Yep. But looks like this one's curling pretty good.
Could catch it on the
Holding it
inside.
straight. Yep. Just about nose.
Jam.
Yeah.
Probably not. I suppose if
It's not terrible.
you could catch it on the outside or the inside. They kind of just nutted it. So no pro miss there. Got one moving, but you know.
Yeah. So I thought it looked like he called the draw down to it, and now he's holding the broom up here. Oh, okay. All right, so he's calling the hit. Hit it on the high side, roll over to the left.
Yeah, I suppose at the end of the day, they don't have hammer and they have the lead. So
Yeah,
get something back over the center line.
rock management. We want rocks to be in front of the house. This one's staying a little straight. Oh, that's over curling. Looks like it's gonna jam. That
Kind
is
of
not what
interesting.
they wanted.
Yeah, interesting because he called them off early and never really fought to hold the line on that.
Yeah,
Maybe he was expecting a little more curl right at the end and maybe go
her
over the
first one
top.
did. Yeah, her first one curled a bunch, so maybe he was
Mhm.
expecting it to curl a ton too.
So here's a good draw pro miss. I think everyone would, obviously you don't want to be back four on this because yellow's then got an opportunity to freeze onto that and kind of shrink it. Oh, he's still hitting again. All right, these guys are all aggressive. I like
I
it.
I don't know that that was the actual call. I think the
Oh, okay.
sweep ended up being a little heavy.
Yeah, because that was
Which,
guarding your own stone, but whatever.
yeah,
I don't hate center line guards even with hammer. I think at this level, first to the button is a great position to be in for the most part. So we got a control out turn. He wants to hit this a little bit on the low side and roll.
yep.
All right, so this is a hit. This is a hit, and this is the lady that when I edited this 3 weeks ago, I remember going, "Oh, this lady's good." So let's see if she doesn't make me look stupider than I am.
Rock got moving fast. Or rock got moving first, sorry. So that's great. Good extension right at the broom. It's waiting for the curl. Holding it so that it doesn't.
Probably could have. Yeah, I mean, could have held that a little longer, I think. But
Yeah, that's pretty
oh,
good.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's
We've
really
got a
good.
mastermind here. Yeah, he's calling the double.
So that one, if he had her on it for a little bit longer to sweep it, keep it a little straighter, might have nosed it, might have just rolled under the blue. By hitting it the way that they did, they had a catcher over on that side that they could have pushed out a little bit to
That
sit
would have been
free
nice.
now.
It's close. Yeah, I think that was. I hope that's what he came up with. That's what he was planning because that was a great shot.
Yeah, all on the fly, which again
Yeah.
is another lesson for newer curlers. Don't get stuck thinking about plan A
Yes.
100% of the time. Think about
Yeah.
plan B, plan C. What else can we get out of this if it's not trending exactly the way that I want it?
Yeah, and I would add, to new skips too, like really let your sweepers know that I, there's a called shot, but if I call you
Mhm.
back on or I take you off, it's something has developed, and that's something that I've worked out with my team where we've,
Yeah,
that
communication.
yeah, it's there might be plan Bs that you don't know about, and we're on to something else at that point. So
So here's another interesting thing. They're throwing an inside out hit, or he's calling an inside out hit. So from
yeah,
inside line to
yep.
outside. Normally, we would call an outside to in because the ice is a little bit more predictable. Sometimes it's necessary to throw inside out in order to get the appropriate roll or to punch it through a hole, etc. So this is one instance where he's calling the inside. It also could be, again, this thrower's tendency.
Could be. This looks like it's over
So
curl, but
that is definitely over curling. But is she
I'm
going to
like
get a
leaning. I'm
piece of
like
it?
trying to look over that
Oh.
camera. Oh no,
So again,
lady,
that's what
we
we
still
see.
we still love you. I
She's great. You're great. But sometimes what we see with sheets at a curling facility is they're a little peaked in the middle.
Yep.
So when you throw um,
Inside out.
inside out,
Yep.
it can take off and curl a little bit more and be less predictable than outside in.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's especially early on in the game when I get forced into throwing something inside out, it's not where you want to be just in terms of it's not in that good stuff. It's not predictable.
Hmm.
That was a nice try, but really giving them what they want here.
So blue is sitting one.
Yep.
Yellow in the back there is the second, pretty well covered.
Looks like skip stones. So I think yeah. Okay, so I in my head I thought yellow had hammer. So blue's got hammer. He kind of split up some guards there. I think they're keeping the 4 foot open. I mean, there's no reason they shouldn't get one here. How important is this? Are you going for like a corner freeze on that blue that's scoring right now?
I don't know that you can get there. I don't know.
Yeah, it is pretty buried.
It is really buried, and that's 6-ish feet of ice.
Yeah. Yeah. But I can't imagine that the
So,
call is to just hang it out there. I mean, they're going to want. Well, maybe they are. They got 2 more stones, so
yeah. But at the same time, this ice has been curling a bunch.
mhm.
Let's look at his rotations and when he releases it. Let's see how well he is intentional with it. It's under his body, which is great. Oh, good rotation. Looks a little heavy. Are we throwing the hit? And is a plan B? We might need to, is that
Yeah, if
coming
they were
down?
plan B in it, they missed that window.
Yeah, it looks a little heavy.
Yeah, and so that ended up. I suppose he was probably wanting that to be top of house, because he hit the broom, hit the center line.
Mm.
That's the only other call I could imagine that he was going for there. See what blue takes on here. They've got their one baked into the cake here. I guess I kind of like what he's eyeballing up there is bringing it under that guard too.
Split the house under either one. You can go right there, not terrible. And go under the one on the right side of the house as well.
The only reason I go to the left side is because um, the double is too tempting for yellow to ignore, especially if you're sitting 2. So then they have to go for it, and I think a true double where they're running blue into 2 blues, I think that's really tough. If you split the house and it's not made, I think it makes for an easier shot, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, and again, this speaks to the tolerance as well. So if you go over here and you come up a little light, then you guard this, and that's not the end of the world either. So, you got to think about what's the risk, what are the opportunities, what's the chances of making the shot. Is
Thank
she?
you for keeping me on track. This is a perfect pro miss tolerant shot. That's the other thing here too, is if you come up light, shot stone is doubly buried. Yeah, exactly.
So
I
think
like
about
you.
the opportunities. Think about think about what are you trying to accomplish, and
Yep.
what's the reasons here to do this. It looks like this is coming up a little light. And they do want this to over curl a little bit if they can. Can they get it there? Can't quite get it there.
Tough to we don't have a oh yeah, we do have a great angle at it. I mean that thing is lined up to go right towards shot, but what do you get for wasting your stone? Yeah, they're not even going to entertain it.
And I would say you really want to drive your opponent's color in like that,
Yeah,
because you're just basically replacing one blue with the other blue if you make that shot.
yeah,
And then it's likely that the blue on the T line might jam on the yellow in the back.
sure looks like it. Yeah. Well,
We're gonna
yellow's got
try
to do
this.
something here.
Gonna try this draw again. Trying to force the other team to hit it. If they go top 12, top 8-ish. Oh, it's trying to go underneath. Maybe. I'm not sure the entire team has bought into the strategy yet.
Do they ever?
Hmm.
Yeah, next time we'll have you on, we'll be, what do you do? One of the topics would be, what do you do when you have mutiny on the front end?
That is a fantastic question.
Well, you got to be shot. You got to be shot.
Yeah, looks like that's curling. I think they took too much broom, a little too much. They could have gotten buried had they brought the broom in about 6-8 inches.
Yeah, I think this. I mean, we've seen this. This is the same guy who shot that port before. We know he can hit, but it really seems like it's a. I suppose I should say seventh end. You know, you're about to give up a couple points here, probably. But there's his first shot did sit back 8, so they're sitting 2. Or they're sitting 1 and 3. So,
Yeah,
but the double is there.
it is just nose. Should be pretty close. But the amount of curl that this sheet has been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see here. If you hit the broom, where are we at? Oh, well, look at that thing curl. Look at that thing curl. All right, good enough for 2.
Good enough for 2. And that's
handshakes.
That is handshakes. That is the right score. Might be a time thing. Yeah, it looks like they're rounding up 8-19.
Yeah, definitely looks like it's a time thing.
So that was kind of fun. I think we I don't know. I think we kind of got to a point where we just didn't talk about the same stuff that's floating around YouTube and stuff like that in terms of let's go to the middle when to throw corner guards and all that stuff. There's just good stuff that you have that that's what we really need. The strategy is really based on, are you making your shots or not? How can you build a strategy if the shots aren't getting made? So I think we need to spend more time talking about how do we make our shots. So that's why I really wanted to have you on. Talk about just for anyone that didn't know, I kept flashing this this very interesting picture of you without any context at all. What is that hanging on your neck? I've never seen one of those in my own curling career.
That is it's a gold medal. It's a WCF, World Curling Federation gold medal. I represented the country of my birth at the Pan-Continental Championships in 2022. So qualifier for the World Championships, there are 2 of them now. It's the European Championships and then the Pan-Continental Championships. And the top 5, 6 teams, kind of depends, from each of those go to Worlds. Well, in the Pan-Continental Championship, it's every country outside of Europe that's a member of the World Curling Federation. And there's a playdown, basically. There's a playoff. And they separated the PCCC, PCCC, into 2 divisions, an A division and a B division. The top 5, 6 from the A division will go to Worlds. The bottom from the A division will drop down to the B division the next year. And then the top from the B moves up to the A division.
Oh, cool.
So in 2022, the inaugural year of the Pan-Continental, I was a member of Team Guyana, and we won the B division to move into the A division the following year. So that's what that picture is from. That's the gold medal from winning the PCCB.
That's so cool. I can't imagine Guyana was a curling hotbed when you were there.
Absolutely not.
I did a quick research. Weren't you supposed to play cricket? I mean, isn't that like a
well, cricket's a big deal. Yeah, absolutely. Cricket's a huge deal in the West Indies, but Guyana is has a lot of expatriates, and in
Okay.
Canada, the Guyana Curling Federation was founded by a couple of Guyanese children of immigrants. So
Oh,
that's
interesting.
how it got started. Similar
So,
to a lot
so
of other
Canada's
countries.
fingerprints are on this in a little bit. They brought it down there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, similar to like Brazil, the Brazilian Curling Federation, a lot of Canadians or Canadian immigrants from Brazil, as well as Europeans, Australia, Australia, New Zealand, that they started up because of immigration from Canada. So a
Interesting.
lot of the foundation or federations outside of the European and the major Canadian US, Canadian influence has a lot to do with it.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, that's awesome. It's been awesome getting to know you on the TCCA. You're an official first five guest, so you're locked into repeating as often as I see fit. And we'll have new topics. I'll get some of your input so that we ask stuff that you think we should know rather than stuff I do. Because what do I know? Jason, you're awesome. Thank you for watching this game with me. Shout out to Bismarck. You guys all played great. Thank you for letting us critique everything. I would never want that to happen to myself. And they have no idea it's coming.
Oh,
Our playbook here is just cruel at best. So, but Jason, you're awesome. Shout out TCCA, and I have to imagine a lot of people are in the Twin Cities and stuff. How can people find you put out clinics and programs and stuff like that? Um, you know, and what are some stuff that people can do to improve?
yeah. So this was the first year that the TCCA board has created this position. So it started in November. So it's still new. We're still kind of working out what this should look like and doing clinics, et cetera. We've put on a couple of delivery clinics already at Chaska. We've got a sweeping clinic coming up here in March. So for this year, we might be, as we get to the tail end of the curling season, really starting to focus on next year and all the opportunities. So we're going to do a bunch of curling fundamentals and maybe some advanced clinics, but I also encourage folks to take additional instruction from, Kevin Martin, whoever else, whatever other clinics that you can find. But the intent is to build those fundamentals. We're working with each of the individual clubs that are part of the TCCA to offer these different sessions. So I would say if anybody's interested in building their fundamentals of delivery, sweeping, team dynamics, strategy, check out the TCCA website. Reach out to your club leaders because each club has a representative on the TCCA board, and ask questions. Ask for more information. Um, the more groundswell, the more grassroots, the more questions that are asked, the more opportunities will be provided. So that's the big thing is ask.
Yeah, so you guys kind of you see some demand, and so you provide it. And so if people aren't chiming in and say, "I'm interested in this," that gives you guys
Right.
the feedback to know what programs to do and stuff. That's awesome.
Exactly.
So the TCCA, for anyone that is Twin Cities Curling Association, I think our website is Twin Cities Curling Association, all spelled out. I'll put our little logo up here because it was in your little. If you see this guy right here in the middle, that you're in the right spot. But we're super responsive on Facebook. That's kind of my department. We answer messages and we get back to people. So if
Yep.
anyone has any questions about how they can find Jason, I will give you his address and his phone number so that you can stalk him.
I don't know about that one.
Cool, buddy. Well, I'll probably see you on Tuesday. And
Yes.
thanks for coming on, buddy.
All right. Thanks a lot, Joe. I had a lot of fun. Take care.
Hey, see ya.